Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
I'm Darrell Seasals, chairperson of the East Lampeter Township Planning Commission. Also present this evening to my left, Jerry Huskin. To my right, Colin Seasals, Director of Planning, Dave Sinopoli, Zoning Officer, and Alicia Hare, Administrative Assistant. And on Zoom is Sarah Ryder, our third member of the Planning Commission. So we have a quorum. We can meet. The other two individuals, we knew one was going to be absent and the other one was sick this evening that wasn't able to attend. But since we have three, we will have a meeting. So welcome. I believe, Sarah, you can hear us. You're smiling.
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business is approval of the minutes of the July 19th Planning Commission meeting. Any comments or questions on the last month's minutes? Not. I'll look for a motion to approve the minutes from July 19th. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Sarah. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous, so passed. Thank you. Next item is old business, none this evening. Next would be new business. First item under new business is Plan 2022-6, Calico Creek Home LLC. Do we have somebody present? Do we have a mic for? Oh, I can, from here I can't say, thank you. If you could use the mic and.
Can you hear me with this on? Okay, perfect.
If you'd identify yourself and.
Again, my name is Todd Schoaf. I'm with Pioneer Management. I'm representing Calico Creek Home. Mr. Randy Martin is out of town today. He thought his flight may arrive early enough that he can make it, but looks like he still may be in flight. So I believe I'll be able to make it on my own here. We're here this evening to talk about the proposed subdivision and land development plan for Calico Creek Home. The tract is located at 2335 Lincoln Highway East, and it's currently occupied by Mr. Martin's business, Calico Creek Home, which is a retail facility specializing in home goods and furniture. The existing building consists of a little over 12,000 square feet. The tract is occupied by additional parking and some rear on-grade loading. The tract is in the C3 zoning district. It's encompassed on the west side by the Roadway Motel. Bearings here. Directly to the north is the Comfort Suites Hotel, and then to the east is Wendy's. The tract is accessed by a shared access drive off of Lincoln Highway that extends back to Comfort Suites. And then the Cocala Creek Home access drive tees at a 90-degree angle immediately across from the access of Wendy's. And Mr. Martin would like to expand his business. He actually needs additional storage space. So with the plan, we are proposing to construct a 3,990 square foot storage expansion, warehouse expansion. No increase in retail space will occur. It's strictly just to store his retail items. He currently stores those items off-site. So he's trying to be a little more efficient, try to reduce traffic, additional traffic trips by keeping everything on site instead of having to go back and forth and pick up his merchandise. Along with the expansion, which is shown in brown on the north side. That expansion will also have a 4-foot loading dock. So he's going to add one loading stall at 4-foot grade, along with a dumpster with enclosure and concrete pad. There are 54 existing parking stalls, which on those busy days, he is a little tight with that. We are going to increase that by 19 stalls to have 73 total parking stalls. Those 73 stalls, including 3 handicap stalls, does meet the township's requirements for parking for the subject tract. Other improvements will include stormwater management. We have 2 stone infiltration trenches on site. We are looking to expand the existing shared basin on the Comfort Suites tract as well. There will be roadway improvements associated with the relocation of existing sidewalk along the corridor of Lincoln Highway, which also requires the construction of a retaining wall, which parallels the highway as well. We have gone through and applied for a PennDOT HOP for removing the existing sidewalk out of the PennDOT right of way, relocating it outside the PennDOT right of way, and we do have that HOP in hand. We've submitted plans to the Conservation District. We have ENS approval. We did not need an NPDS permit with this project because we are under 1 acre of disturbance. We do have the Lafayette Fire Company approval letter. We do have the City of Lancaster, Water Authorities, capacity approval and design approval. So really we have all agency approvals in hand. We are in receipt of David Miller's August 3rd review, and there are 2 outstanding comments on that review letter. One would be to identify the various modifications and waivers that we're requesting, identify those as being either granted or denied on our plan. So hopefully after the supervisors meeting, we will wrap that comment up. And the other comment involves providing the appropriate financial security letter of credit for the public improvements. The township engineer has reviewed our cost estimate, and that estimate was deemed acceptable by the township engineer. So as long as the Board of Supervisors ultimately approves that dollar amount, Mr. Martin will proceed with obtaining a letter of credit. So really all other comments have been addressed, and coming in front of you tonight is a very, very clean review letter from the township engineer. In addition, based off of, and I could talk about this in greater detail if you so choose, but based off of the requirement of providing a retaining wall along the front of the tract due to the relocation of the sidewalk, a developer's agreement had to be established. That developer's agreement has been submitted to the township, and it's my understanding that the township solicitor will be reviewing that agreement in the near future. Along with the plan, we are requesting 13 waivers or modifications. I know that's a large number. The township engineer has recommended granting all of those waivers. With only one, there was a condition, and that waiver is for the processing of a preliminary plan. And the condition is to provide all items required for preliminary plan processing, which we believe we did. So with that being said, I could go into as much detail as you like with all the waivers or the plan. But again, in front of you, we have an extremely clean letter from the engineer.
There's also a retaining wall at the loading dock area between that and the new parking
There is,
on the north side of the building.
there is, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's some question in there about the fencing or the fence on top of that wall and identifying the difference between the Route 30 and that fencing whether the same or different. I
Um,
believe there's a question somewhere in the,
Yeah, there might be.
Yeah,
We did provide structural engineer drawings sealed and signed by a structural engineer for the retaining walls along the floating area. Those details do call out for the appropriate fencing or security guide rail along the top of that. The actual retaining wall paralleling Route 30, there was a back and forth discussion with township staff regarding the design of that wall. It's our understanding that based off of the township's streetscape design for the Route 30 corridor, the township is pursuing the design of that wall. However, prior to that, we did provide structural engineer drawing of that wall design as well. So we went forward and had a design of the wall. Came back, corresponded with the township. It's my understanding that the township would be looking at installing that wall versus having the applicant install it.
I'm not sure if you covered, if I missed it in the beginning, there's currently now 3 parcels. And you're gonna reduce the size of one and add it to the other and have 2 parcels now on the site.
So the Calico Creek, that is correct. The Calico Creek tract consists of 2 parcels. We'll join those in common. When those are joined in common, it'll be approximately 1.2 acres. The existing Comfort Suites tract is about 4 acres existing. With this plan, we're looking to subdivide off approximately 0.8 acres from the Comfort Suites tract, which is shown as lot number 2, add it to our subject tract to be just a hair over 2 acres. The minimum lot size within the zoning district is 2 acres. So it's a non-conforming lot size.
So where's that land that's being transferred?
The existing 2 lots for Calico Creek is this somewhat rectangular shaped portion. What we're doing is subdividing off a narrow swath between the hotel property and Calico Creek home. And then that property will also extend down behind the hotel. It's really, unfortunately, unusable space. It's a slope, and it's not that Calico Creek wanted that property. They just needed it to get their lot area up above 2 acres. I will point out that existing lot coverage for the tract is 70.4%, give or take. Maximum impervious coverage is 70. So with the addition of that extra green space, we get the lot coverage down to about 59.5, give or take.
It looks like you needed it because the addition's on that new parcel or piece that's
Well,
added.
it is.
So
Yeah, when Calico Creek came to us, they wanted to put the addition to the north side. We needed more property anyway to allow that expansion to meet the setback requirements. So we went a little beyond, picked up additional lot area just so we can meet lot acreage and impervious coverage requirements.
So we do have the Dave Miller letter from August 3rd. And as you mentioned, yeah, it appears based on the township's engineer that they're recommending granting those waivers and modifications. Just quickly, the first you mentioned preliminary plan and coming in as a final and meeting all the preliminary plan requirements. The other, there was some a request to waive all the requirements within 200 feet for undeveloped lands, et cetera, around it. And that was recommended to be granted. The plan scale, based on the information provided, they recommend granting that for a modification to that. For existing streets, cartway edging, sidewalk, some modifications for that were requested and accepted by the engineer. Load ratio in the karst area, with the justification given, our engineers recommended accepting that. The 1-foot cover over storm pipe and minimum pipe diameter, and recommending the requested modification. The hydraulic grade line calculation for 25-year storm, a minimum 1-foot freeboard. You have slightly less than that, I believe, so that's been justified and accepted by our engineer. Curbs on proposed streets and parking areas, a waiver was recommended for portions of the new parking areas. And then sidewalks as well. And you asked for some variances on the 1 foot grass strip. And appears that that's in line with the Route 30 streetscape. So that makes sense to recommend that. So there's a 12 requests, 13th being put it on the plan. So you only had 12 and not 13. So
There was an additional waiver identified by the township engineer, and I believe that that was a duplicate of roadway improvements.
oh, okay. And then the financial security mentioned. And then we also have a letter from Lancaster County dated March 21st. A revised shared access easement agreement should be provided and recorded as part of the approval. Have any issue with that? I mean, that'll be done, right? And then, okay, and then the second comment is the retaining walls, and we discussed that already. And appears you're in compliance with those requirements. The plan should note the ability to safely separate the dumpster from the loading spaces. From the loading space and clearly screen from the land use. Any issue with that?
We do show screening around the dumpster pad,
Okay,
and then we do show truck turning movements where a 30-foot box truck can't come in back into the loading dock adjacent to the dumpster.
okay. And then a lighting plan.
That was submitted.
And then the other are the deeds. The new deeds need to be recorded as part of this process for the new plan approval. Any questions, comments? Any questions, comments from the audience? Reference to this. And I believe this, there is our only Zoom attendee, so we don't have any Zoom. So here's, there's no questions or comments from either side. If not, I'll look for a motion.
Based on David Miller required to almost 30 as well as
So we have a motion. Do we have a second for that?
second,
We have the second. Any discussion? There's none. All those in favor, say aye and raise your right hand.
aye,
3 ayes, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
And thank you for cleaning up the previous March 18th letter with our engineer and bringing a clean plan in here for us. So thank you. Guess you made a good assumption that you're next
Figured since I'm the only one in the room.
with Plan 2022-15 campus shops at 1625 Old Philadelphia Pike. Good evening.
Good evening. Claudia Shank, I'm an attorney with McNeese, Wallace and Nurick, and I'm here this evening on behalf of Campus Shops LP. I'm joined by Scott Provenzo, who is with the developer. So we've been before the Planning Commission to talk about this property in the past. It's been a few months though, so I just want to briefly refresh your recollection about the site. So Campus Shops owns the property at 1625 Old Philadelphia Pike. It's 2.6 acres, mixed use zoning. And it is improved with a 4-story building known as the Square Bridgeport. The first floor of the building is retail and office space, and the second through the 4th floors are residential. There's also a pad site on that property, which is designed as a bank with drive-through facilities. Although It's currently leased to a bank. The bank is not using the property at this time, so it's effectively vacant. So we previously appeared before you in March of this year after some initial meetings with staff to talk about some expansions to the mixed-use zoning district that would allow us both to repurpose the bank pad site space, as well as to finish leasing some of the space on the first floor of that mixed-use building, which has largely been vacant. Obviously, there's not a lot of demand for office space in today's market, so it's been challenging to fill that space. Scott can answer any questions you may have about that, but really there have been very few inquiries with regard to that space and nothing that would be really an attractive companion use for the residential on the upper floors. So as a result of that, we came and had a discussion with you about some potential changes to allow for some additional uses in the mixed use zone, including self-storage. Then made a similar presentation to the draft language, feedback from Colin and Tara, and then made a formal submission. LCPC has reviewed our text amendment. This was done at a staff level due to the minor nature of the amendment, and they did recommend approval without condition or modification. Our hearing before the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for August 15th, so we're here tonight to seek your recommendation of approval to the board. In terms of the amendment itself, we are adding several different uses or proposing to add several different uses to the mixed use zone. First, we're proposing to add a financial institution with or without drive-through service lane. Again, I told you at the outset of the presentation, there is already a bank ad on the property. That was a pre-existing non-conforming use. So we thought it's there now. It makes sense to allow for that use since it's here already again. Another use we're proposing to add will be a commercial recreation facility, a gym facility. We do already have a personal training center leasing space at this location, and we think it makes sense, and I believe staff felt it made sense as well to allow for a gym type facility, especially given the relationship to the residential use. The self-storage facility use is also proposed. We are looking at converting a portion of the first floor of that mixed-use building into self-storage. We talked a little bit about that at the last meeting. This is not like traditional self-storage where you would drive up and have a dock that you would open, load and unload out of. It's accessed through a single point, hallways within the buildings, smaller locker type units may be used by the residents to store bikes, extra furniture, that sort of thing, but would be open to folks in the community besides just the residents of the building as well. We did put a number of different restrictions on the self-storage facility use. So the way we've drafted this, the self-storage facility would be permitted by right in the mixed use zone, but it would be subject to a number of criteria. And those would include the following. So the self-storage facility would only be permitted as a conversion of an existing building, so no new structures. There could be a max gross floor area of 10,000 square feet. Would only be able to occupy the first floor of a fully enclosed building. Could only occupy 75% of the gross floor area of the first floor. No outdoor storage would be permitted. Would need to be accessed through single points of entry, so you wouldn't have doors, loading docks on the exterior of the building. There would be no storage of boats, campers, recreational vehicles, and things of that nature. Obviously, no storage of any kind of illegal, perishable, or hazardous substances, and then a requirement to provide appropriate utility service. Two other uses that were added are restaurant and retail bakery. Both of those uses are already permitted in the mixed use district. However, they're not permitted to have drive-through service. And so what we've done is amended the ordinance or proposed to amend the ordinance so that drive-through service would be allowed in connection with a retail bakery or a restaurant, but only if it's a conversion of an existing drive-through facility. So basically the feedback that we received from staff was, would be okay with repurposing into a drive-through restaurant or a Starbucks or something like that, but we don't really want to see any new drive-throughs in the MU district. We're okay with the ones that are there now, and if they were to change use, between these categories, basically a bank, bakery, Starbucks, or restaurant, that's fine, but we don't want new ones to be added. So that's the way this has been drafted. It would allow us to use our pad site for the bakery or restaurant use, but wouldn't allow someone to come into the mixed use district and construct from scratch a new restaurant with a drive-through facility. There have been a number of changes to this as we've gone through the process based on feedback from the planning commission, the board, and staff. Most notably is the change that I just discussed, the idea that you couldn't have a new drive-through facility in the mixed-use zone. Also, we did add in the 75% cap on the gross floor area of the first floor that could be used for self-storage based on comments and feedback we received from the planning commission. So in terms of the storage facility use, you've got sort of two caps on how large you can go with it. It can be a maximum of 10,000 square feet, but it still can only occupy 75% of the first floor of an enclosed building. So with that by way of background, I'll let Scott come up and provide some comments on his experience leasing this building and what he's looking to do with the site if the text amendment is approved.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Scott Ponzo. I'm a partner and owner with Campus Shops LP, which owns the building now at Old Philadelphia Pike. What Claudia said, short background, we started construction in May of 2019. We finished up in August of 21. Obviously, with a little delay for COVID thrown in there, but at this point, the residential component's fully leased. We've hit our 1 year mark of residence turnover, continue to be fully leased. So the top 3 floors of it are great. Part, but basically, like Claudia said, we have the bank, which is left. Currently, still, they're still in good standing with us, but with a possibility, I think at this point for another possible 18. I forget how much is on the lease. I think it's 18 to 20 months left. It could be emptied. So we're trying to figure out a way, hopefully, to help them and get that space back to some type of usability. As far as the other part, like Claudia said, we are looking at focusing on some of the storage component. One of our partners in the project, I think it said this last time we were in, he does the Prospect storage up in Mountville, and they did something similar up by Scoops. They had a 3-story building. I think top 2 stories were living, bottom story was supposed to be office. They couldn't fill it, so they went in, backfilled it, and did storage. And that's what we're looking to do for that part of it. We wouldn't have to change facade, wouldn't have to change parking, wouldn't have to change any of that nature, wouldn't have to change the sprinklers. You might have to modify them, but they're already in place for the whole bottom. So from our standpoint, we wouldn't have to make any changes to it, and it's something that wouldn't necessarily be noticeable if you're looking for it. At this point, we do have one tenant there. Claudia said they're a personal fitness appointment type place, not necessarily a gym, but they're doing extremely well. But that's the only one that we've had to date. The units themselves are anywhere from 50 to 6 of those, and basically, say, I don't know, we probably would look to use about 5,000 or so square feet, which probably roughly is about 40 to 50 units, which you take out hallways and stuff. So we believe that out of the 30 residents that are there, we probably would get somewhere around a 30 to 40% capture rate initially to help fill some of that. And obviously, the rest of it we can take out to lease to the public. So.
The
Any
first
questions?
floor, what's the square footage of that total?
The total first floor is about 11,000. So we have about 1,800 committed to the powertrain fitness that moved in. If we did, let's say about 5,000 or 6,000, that would still leave us with 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. And what we're going to do is put it, basically, we have a tenant on the end. We want to put it in the middle and then leave the other end open. Because we did plan initially when we space there. But if we did those, say, 50 units or so, we'd still have the ability to do anywhere from 1 to 3 additional spaces at a later date. The other thing that's nice is because we're not changing the facade or anything like that. Obviously pouring the floors and building everything out, the ability 5 years, 10 years down the road, whatever it is, if there's a proving marketplace that we could take it, if we wanted to tear it out, and do something else there, We don't really have to gut the inside. We don't have to do anything with the outside parking or anything like that. So we'll give us some flexibility that again, later on down the road, if there was a better opportunity for it, we could take it out, almost like doing, an office finish out or refinish out on an office space, since the exterior and everything wouldn't have to be changed.
I was just wondering with the personal fitness, you said what 1,800 square feet. They're relatively new, I guess, in that building in the last year or two.
Correct.
They do well and they like that. They may want to, I guess, the opportunity to expand, I guess, as long as you're allowing for that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, what we do is we would talk to him and see if he wanted any space initially. He took a little bit more space than he thought he would need. Because he was coming from Millersville and moving, he was shutting that office and moving over to there. But we certainly would ask him, because again, he's, from our standpoint, he's been a great tenant. I know from our last conversations that he pretty much gained tenants by moving. He didn't lose that many and picked up some new ones. So he seems to be in pretty good shape with his business in there.
It's just the concern of COVID, and we're getting away from that. More people may be interested, and you may get an increase in clientele.
It'd be nice. It'd be good for us, right? We'd be
For
happy
you
if
and
we did,
everybody,
yeah.
yeah.
And
Times are changing.
I think that's part of what we like about this plan. As Scott was mentioning, it does allow flexibility. It's not locking us into doing storage units forever. I know there's been a lot of questions about, the bridge plans for the Bridgeport area, more walkable area there. Obviously, that's at least a few years down the road, but if that does come to fruition in the future, as we certainly hope it does, we would have the flexibility to take that space back to a retail use if there's a market for it.
The existing bank site, you're looking for flexibility to make that either a bank moving forward or a bakery. Is that where the bakery?
We were trying to think what things could go there, basically.
So
Bank.
that just gives you more flexibility.
Right. And in terms of the bakery, we're thinking like a coffee shop. Often
Right.
See those now.
I don't know if you've ever, may not have been in it, but it was an old Union National Bank, had their cafe concept.
Right.
So it's an odd layout for a bank, because I
Right.
think it's 30 some hundred feet of space, but you walk in and it's basically just a wide open area. So I know that my understanding is they've talked to other banks to see if they want it, but they haven't had any, any opportunities for it. But it is an odd layout for a bank. It's oversized. So like Claudia said, we're just looking for some ideas that if they don't take it back, or if they don't decide to come back and look at it, it's just sitting there. And unfortunately, it's like right on the street.
Right.
And across from it, you have the Pizza Hut that's, out or whatever. It's that particular area kind of, there's not much activity, but we're just looking for some flexibility to try and fill it, because we do have the light there. We did the improvements along with Hack when we put in the campus. So we didn't, with that improvement there, having something there that gets a little more traffic or something wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Since we moved to the bank, just the question, currently that building that's vacant has 3 drive-through lanes. Within the ordinance for other restaurants and confectionery, they're generally 1 lane. I'm just trying to envision, like some have more than 1 order lane, but they have 1 pickup lane. And if it's a donut shop or a coffee shop, you probably order and pick up at the same window. It's just trying to envision why 2 instead of 3 and why 2 instead of 1, and how's 2 going to work? You can't put it through the tube like you do your money.
To try.
Well, you could try, but I don't know if I'd want that pastry when I got there.
So the bank would continue to be allowed to have 3 drive-through lanes, but in discussion with staff, we've limited the restaurant or the retail bakery to 2. So they would have to eliminate one of those lanes if they were to do that conversion. And certainly 2 lanes are a popular concept for either restaurants or bakeries.
Yeah, I was trying to envision, like I said, we've seen some come in, they want another lane for ordering, but generally have 1 pickup, and I wasn't sure how it was going to envision that facility.
Yeah, I think if you would probably in that situation, there's a front entrance and obviously you drive 3 lane. Fully would retrofit that if you could do a restaurant or something. You do a pay, come in and do a pay window and then go pick up your stuff. I think the other thing is probably that it's fairly older. So if you're going to go to doing trucks and SUVs, you're probably going to get 2 lanes at most anyway, by the time you get everything that you want to do in there. Because one of them, I think, is the Mac lane, which I think was all that bank was used for the last
Well, yeah,
5 years. But
yeah, the one next to the building was on the building was the Mac, and then the other 2 were the tubes. You send your stuff back and forth to paper. Yeah, I was just trying to envision with that building how you would serve 2 lanes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty common concept. You're seeing more and more often with drive-through facilities, newer drive-through facilities, 2 lanes. There's still usually just one pickup and one payment window. And they sort of filter them in coming in from the 2 lanes.
It seems, when I saw, unless I missed it in the ordinance for restaurants and confectionery thing you're adding, I think in the other cases, it's all 1 lane. I don't know, we have 2 lanes allowed in the others or drive-through. No, I may have missed something, but yeah. So it just seemed unique to our ordinance to have 2 and for the service of it. Yeah, because actually you added that under the section 23-680, you made it plural for lanes. Yeah. With that change. So that
So
makes,
23,680.
yeah, restaurants under item 3. I think the S would get an underline that you have in parentheses as an addition, because the existing one is just lane.
Okay, I don't have a copy of the full zoning
Yeah.
ordinance in front of me. I don't know if Colin could speak to that. Right, and I think if you
Yeah.
had a single lane, this wouldn't allow you to make a double lane. This would
Right.
only allow us to take it from 3 to 2.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any drive-through facilities in the mixed use district that have a double lane now. There's pretty limited. The Burger King has one. I think there's a pizza shop that has one. And I think they're both single lanes. I don't know there'd be much opportunity
Yeah.
to do the 2 other than at this site.
It might take the way it's written now. You'd have to eliminate one of them. If you did a restaurant or a confection,
That's correct.
you'd have to eliminate one. But you wouldn't have to eliminate 2, just 1.
This one.
We did have your presentation. There is a review from the county, which I believe you've seen that August 1st, which is very positive. It was an affirmation of, yes, do it. And they related it to the Bridgeport plan, as well as to several other items that it was in working with that. As you mentioned, hopefully in the next few years, that'll come to fruition and this will just fit right in. And staff gave comments, basically said, look at your submission, which is what we're doing. Any comments here? Sarah?
I just had one question. Talking about the mixed use district, this might be more of a question for Colin, but where else in the township could this apply, this amendment to the zoning ordinance to this zoning district?
It'd be very limited, like Claudia said. I think just the Burger King and maybe one other pizza shop there. So yeah, the fact that it's written so that these uses are in existence at the time of this ordinance enactment really limited to the properties that they own and then maybe one or two others. So
Right, and as far
Okay.
as the first floor conversion of the self-storage, I suppose there's other places that could potentially apply, but not any that I'm thinking of.
yeah, not that I
offhand.
can think of.
So other than Bridgeport, where else is there mixed use district, or is that just limited to the Bridgeport area?
Yeah, it's pretty much limited to just the Bridgeport
Okay.
area.
And that would have to be an existing situation. right?
Correct,
Yes.
Which would limit it.
correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other? Just a note for you to check on your section 1 in the proposed ordinance. The principal use permitted by right, you have it as 7. I think that should be 6 to keep in the alphabetical order. You can check that. I think.
We'll double check that. That you
Yeah.
think it should be under section 15.020. You think it should be A6 rather than A7?
Yes.
Okay,
So,
we'll check that.
as you referenced later after those 3, that the alphabetical order. So it's- I don't want you to get to a public meeting and somebody other than me nitpicks it and sets you back a month.
Appreciate that.
The opportunities in the air.
I do have one comment. Upper Laycock Township was the only township to respond when I sent this out, and they acknowledge receipt and have no further comments.
Um, No further discussion. I'll look for a motion.
There's no David Miller letter. What am I going to do? I guess I'll make a motion on project 2022-15 Campus Shops LP approval of the mixed use zone text amendment as presented. Do we need to reference the county letter?
Well, I guess, I don't know if we actually do a motion with this. We do a recommendation for the supervisors.
And you made me do all that. Now you tell me.
Well, you made the
I think
reference
it's a
to what you're
motion to
talking to.
recommend approval.
But, yeah,
We
so
recommend
just a
approval.
clarification, yes.
Okay. And we don't have to reference the township, the county letter.
Oh, we may, you can reference anything you want in your motion. It's
like
a
great
positive
com-
from the county that we did have county comments that were.
Okay, we recommend approval and note the county letter dated August 1st, 2022 as part of that.
So we have a motion to recommend approval of the proposed ordinance. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have the second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye and raise
Aye.
the right hand.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Sarah, you have to make all the first motions the next time.
Okay,
Claudia.
I'll
All right.
remember that. You did a great job though, Jerry.
Thank you. Thanks for your support and your second.
Okay. That's 2 items under new business, briefing items, none at this time unless the change. Any other business or announcements? If not, we're left with 1 item. Adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
So we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye
Aye.
and right hand. Unanimous. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Sarah.
Good night. Meeting's adjourned.